Ladies and gentlemen, it's 147th day of the Russians' invasion and the 9th year of the Russian war against Ukraine. I am Evgeny Shevchenko, and on behalf of Media Center and Ukrinform, I invite all the journalists who are telling the world about our fight for freedom. And now we plan to talk to Daria Herasymchuk, who is an advisor and the commissioner of the President of Ukraine for the rights of children and children rehabilitation. Ms. Daria, what are the hottest topics you are following right now? Glory to Ukraine, first of all, and let's start with the potential figures. Let's repeat them again. As of today, July the 20th, this morning, more than 1,032 kids suffered in Ukraine as the result of the full-scale invasion of the Russian Federation. According to the official statistics and official information of juvenile prosecutors, 353 kids died and more than 679 kids received wounds. Of course, we cannot count the exact number of victims because the rashes are not allowing us to bury our murdered children, to be able to find them, to count them, to identify them, let alone the kids whom they took away from Ukraine. We cannot even find out the exact accurate number. But that's exactly the topic I would like to discuss today. Deportation and the forced relocation by the Russian occupants of Ukrainian kids. In the open sources, the Russian authorities are voicing the figure of 350,000 so-called evacuated to the Russian Federation Ukrainian children. Why it's not proper evacuation, as I claim it? Because during evacuation of those kids, they immediately should have been returned to the territory of Ukraine, but this never happened. And according to all of the actions and statements made by the Russian authorities, they are not planning to return the Ukrainian kids. So we have to talk here not about any evacuation, but about forced deportation and forced relocation. Unfortunately, we cannot tell exactly how many children with companions or without were forcefully relocated by the Russian aggressors, either to the temporarily occupied territory of Donetsk, Lugansk, and Kherson Oblast and Autonomous Republic of Crimea, or deported all the way to the Russian Federation. We didn't have and still don't have access to the temporarily occupied territories just yet, and into the hot war zone to do the counting. So what we heard are the figures stated by the Russian authorities in their mass media. Ms. Daria, can you explain how did it happen that those children ended up at the territory of the Russian Federation? Were they taken or did they leave with their parents? That's what I said. We cannot either confirm or deny the figure of 350,000 relocated children because we have not received any list from them. They cannot support with the documented confirmation and evidence what are those kids they're talking about. They're just mentioning those names. The figure of that we are aware of is 5,100 kids as of today. But every day we receive more applications to the National Information Bureau. That's where people should share the information about the fact of forced deportation of kids or adults. So the Ukrainian authorities currently are verifying and updating the list of already known kids with their personal data. And then we pass this list to the international organizations like International Committee for Red Cross to search for those kids, whether are located in the Russian Federation or not, and to monitor their status now. So what are those kids now? Most of them are the kids who have forcefully relocated along with some of their grown-up relatives or their relatives or parents. Of course, some of those children have lost their relatives, their parents, like in Mariupol. When parents die, an orphan is then forcefully relocated. So among those children, there is a category like that. Also, there's another category with a status of orphan or a person without guardians. And we heard numerous times the Russian Federation would like to forcefully make them the citizens of the Russian Federation. So these kids are in the gravest danger. So this is what we know as of now. We have questions from the audience, please. Ukrinform, Oksana Polishchuk. You just mentioned the figure 5,100 children verified by Ukraine already, right? So 5,100, right? So what are the changes within the last month? So what's the dynamics of increase of this number? Well, this is the figure that we received within the last month. 5,100 children are being searched for, and that's the total amount we received within 1 month. So a good dynamics. Also, I would like to announce to you an advance announcement. On August the 1st, there will be a unified information platform which is called Children of War, where we will keep all the updated information about the children exposed to war in Ukraine. And anyone could find lots of useful information, including journalists, domestic and foreign. So this platform will be launched on August the 1st, and we will have a separate briefing where we'll explain the functionality of that portal, because it will become one of the most important sources or access points for the citizens to help the National Information Bureau, the Prosecutor General's Office, National Police of Ukraine to gather such evidence and data and transfer them, refer them to the international organizations who are searching for those kids. By the way, we managed to bring back 46 children. So far, the mass media communicates about Kira and Yulia. Well, you're well aware of what I'm talking about, this. But for currently, we have 46 stories like that. What is the government doing to increase the number of such stories? What concrete steps and mechanisms? What's important to understand is that without the lists with names of those kids, it's impossible to start any search actions. We cannot find those kids. That's the reason why we're not communicating and not commenting the figure that has been mentioned in the news sources of the Russian Federation, because their figure of 350,000 kids has not been substantiated by any list of names. This is just a statement that could have no grounds behind them. But first, we need to identify the kids, and we're doing this using all the available means and ways, verifying medical data, educational data, to collect as many data about the kids who were deported or relocated. And the next step, since the Ukrainian counterparts have no access to the temporarily occupied territories, neither to the territory of the Russian Federation, thus we cannot carry out search and rescue operations there. But those international organizations who have such mandate could do that. So our job is to fill this list with the names and transfer to the international organizations, and then together, act together, search and find kids. But the process of returning the kids, I ask you not to even ask such questions, because I cannot share any details here, because bringing back every single children will be a unique experience. So we have no uniform algorithm that will cover all of the cases. So we deal separately with each particular situation. Kids on their own, with relatives, with parents, with grandparents, so separate stories. Are there any further questions in the audience? While I'm waiting, I'll ask my own question. Do we have a direct dialogue with Russia on those issues? Or are we talking through go-betweens and, like you mentioned, international organizations? No, you're right. We're talking through go-betweens. We are not talking directly to the Russian Federation. I, personally, am not communicating with the ombudsperson on children from Russian Federation. There is no communication like that because I don't believe there is anything for us to discuss except for empty statements, because the Russian Federation will not share those lists to anyone. Because in essence, that would confirm that what they're doing is they're perpetrating the genocide against the Ukrainian nation, taking a group of Ukrainian kids and relocating them to another nation. This is the most evident form of genocide of the Ukrainian people. Can you mention the international organizations that you're dealing with? Currently, we're talking, well, not through which, but with whom we cooperate to find and search the kids. Let's comment it correctly. We're not talking about the communication with Russian counterparts. We're talking about searching and finding children. For that, we cooperate with the Red Cross, with UNICEF, and other organizations which, one way or another, are involved in this process. We can also see an abnormally large number of deceased children or murdered children. Can you explain such big figures, large figures, by pointing out that the Russians are shelling the civilian infrastructure? Yes, that's another sign of the genocide, killing and wounding Ukrainian children. We all remember the last case of shelling of the town of Vinnytsia, downtown, no military installations, 3 kids died and 4 children wounded. Yet another confirmation that the Russian Federation is, in essence, fighting against the Ukrainian children, trying thus to extinguish, to destroy the Ukrainian nation. We keep working actively on deportation of our children that we have found from Russia back to Ukraine, because under the office of the president a month ago a coordination council has been established to protect the rights of children in the war and after war times. In addition to this, we'll keep working. Like I said, come August the 1st, we'll have another briefing where I will share the functionalities offered by this newly launched portal, Children of War, and why it's important to fill it with updated information about the facts of deportation and relocation of children, their location, because it will help us to bring every Ukrainian kid back to home. Daria Herasymchuk, the advisor to the President of Ukraine and the Ombudsperson Commissioner on Children and Child Rehabilitation. Thank you for this conversation. This is it for today. Please